Death has always been humanity's most relentless companion, a presence both feared and respected across every age and civilization. Across continents and centuries, it has taken on many forms and faces, shifting with belief systems, rituals, and mythology. Yet in the modern imagination, one figure stands above them all: the Grim Reaper. The image of the Reaper did not emerge overnight. It was forged during the terror of the Black Death in medieval Europe, when plague swept across towns, wiping out millions. To the people who lived through it, death wasn't an abstraction. It was seen in streets, homes, and fields. Artists of the 14th century began to depict death not as a god, angel, or demon, but as a skeletal figure cloaked in black, holding a scythe used not for war, but for harvesting souls like wheat. This was the birth of the Grim Reaper, a spectral harvester who did not kill, but merely collected. The Reaper's skeletal form symbolized decay and the inevitability of mortality. His hooded cloak represented the unknown, the darkness beyond life. His scythe reflected the agricultural roots of medieval Europe, souls as crops, harvested when their time had come. Over time, he became neither good nor evil, but a silent servant of fate. Some feared him, others saw him as a necessary guide, a somber usher into what comes next. But long before the Grim Reaper took shape in the West, civilizations across the globe had already imagined death as a being of power, mystery, and order. In ancient Greece, death was not a terrorizing tyrant, but a weary figure named Thanatos, the embodiment of peaceful death. He was the twin brother of Hypnos, god of sleep, and was often depicted with wings, gently escorting souls. Hades, lord of the underworld, did not reap but ruled, ensuring balance between life and death. The Greeks believed that the soul's journey was structured, not chaotic. Charon the ferryman would guide the dead across the river Styx, but only if they were buried with a coin. Further north, in Norse mythology, death was colder, harsher. Hel, daughter of Loki, ruled the realm of the dead that bore her name. Half her face was living flesh, the other half a corpse. She governed those who died of illness and old age, offering neither mercy nor cruelty, only finality. When warriors fell in battle, they were chosen not by Hel but by the Valkyries, who carried the honored dead to Valhalla or Folkvanger. In the Norse view, death had many domains, and fate chose the destination. In ancient Egypt, death was not an ending, but a transformation. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, served as both protector and guide. He presided over embalming, watched over the tombs of the dead, and weighed the heart of each soul against the feather of Ma'at, the principle of divine order. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was devoured by Amit, the soul eater. If it was pure, the deceased entered the field of reeds, a perfected mirror of life. To Egyptians, death was a journey, and Anubis was the guide through darkness. Across the world in India, death walked with both beauty and terror in the form of Kali. Draped in garlands of skulls, tongue dripping with blood, she represented the destruction of ego and illusion. Yet her wrath was not mindless. She was the force that ended, but also the power that renewed. In Hindu belief, death is part of samsara, the cycle of rebirth. Another figure, Yama, lord of death and righteousness, judges the soul's deeds and directs it toward its next existence. To the people of the Indian subcontinent, death was less a final curtain and more a cosmic checkpoint. In Mesoamerica, death was part of balance. The Aztecs spoke of Mictlantecuhtli, skeletal lord of Mictlan, the underworld. He and his wife, Mictlantecuhtli, ruled the land of the dead not with cruelty, but inevitability. The journey to reach Mictlan was grueling. 4 years of trials, rivers of blood, and mountains that crashed together. Yet it was a path all souls would walk. The Maya also revered Puch, a god of decay and darkness, depicted with a skull face, bells, and owls marking his presence. In these cultures, death was natural, not demonic. In Japan, the concept of death evolved into the Shinigami, death spirits who guided or influenced mortal passing. Unlike the Grim Reaper, Shinigami were not singular beings, but forces, sometimes benevolent, sometimes haunting. Their presence reflected Buddhist and Shinto influence, emphasizing the spiritual significance of death and the lingering presence of ancestral spirits. In the Caribbean and West Africa, death danced rather than stalked. Baron Samedi of Haitian Vodou, with his top hat, skull face and cigar, was both trickster and guardian. He ruled over the dead, but also healed the living when pleased. Surrounded by the Gede spirits, he embodied the humor, pain, and inevitability of mortality. Death in Vodou was not silent. It spoke, laughed, and mocked the living to remind them how short their time was.
In Slavic regions, death appeared as Marana or Marzana, a goddess of winter and stillness. She represented the cold sleep before spring, the death that gives way to rebirth. Effigies of her were burned or drowned to mark the end of winter, symbolizing the triumph of life over decay. She was feared and celebrated, destroyed and resurrected in seasonal cycles.
In China, death was governed by Wang, the king of hell, who ruled Du, the realm of judgment and purification. Souls underwent trials, faced the consequences of their actions, and were cleansed before reincarnation. Unlike the Grim Reaper, Wang did not collect souls. He judged them and ensured cosmic fairness. In Mexico, one of the most fascinating modern death figures arose, Santa Muerte, the Holy Death. Often portrayed as a female skeletal figure in a cloak, she is both feared and worshipped. Millions pray to her for protection, justice, healing, and safe passage, not just into death, but through life's trials. To her followers, she is not a monster. She is honest, impartial, and inevitable. As centuries passed, the Grim Reaper remained the dominant symbol of death in Western imagination. The Reaper absorbed older archetypes, combining elements of Charon, Thanatos, and medieval plague imagery into one universal collector. He appears at the bedside, in the shadows, or on the battlefield. Silent, waiting, patient, he does not chase or plead. He arrives. Yet across the world, humanity has not imagined death in only one shape. It is a jackal-headed judge, a skeletal king, a dark goddess, a cigar-smoking trickster, a masked spirit, and a silent shadow in a cloak. It is feared, revered, mocked, bargained with, and respected. Despite the differences, one truth links them all. Death is not an enemy. It is a boundary, a passage, a return, or a reckoning, depending on belief. Civilizations shaped their deities of death not to celebrate endings, but to understand them. Every culture, every myth, every symbol teaches the same lesson: to live with the knowledge that time is measured, that existence is fragile, and that what comes after remains humanity's greatest mystery. And so the Grim Reaper stands among many, not as the first, but as the latest in a long lineage of guardians, judges, escorts, and witnesses to mortality. If this journey into the world's death deities fascinated you, there is more to uncover. From forgotten underworlds to ancient rituals, every myth tells a story about us, about fear, and about meaning. If you want to explore deeper into the realms of myth, history, and legend, subscribe, join the community, and step with us across the veil of the unseen. The next story awaits.